What is up, everybody? Welcome into this Wednesday guest episode of Flippin Bats, where stud rookie for the Baltimore Orioles infielder Gunnar Henderson is about to join me. The current favorite, I'd say, to win AL Rookie of the Year, and we're going to talk all about this season for him personally, for the Orioles in general, if he believes this team is good enough to win the World Series, as well as a ton throughout his life, you know, growing up in Alabama, and his ability to get to the big leagues as young as he did, that entire process. This ends up being a really fun conversation, as well as, you know, this year for him started off with him being the Rookie of the Year favorite. And it was a bit of a struggle. It was a struggle for him to start the season. So talking to him about how he was able to get out of that, and there might or might not have been a haircut that helped him turn it all around. But this is a really fun conversation with one of the best players and one of the youngest players in the game of baseball. The future is so bright for the Orioles, and Gunnar Henderson is a very, very big part of that. So without further ado, let's welcome him in now, Gunnar Henderson.
Fly ball onto the track, at the wall, it's gone! Home run!
Turns on a ball, deep right field, and gone!
What a game, what a moment. All right, and here he is now, infielder for the Baltimore Orioles, Gunnar Henderson. Gunnar, thank you so much for joining me, man.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it.
Hey, let's start with the most important question I feel like I have for you. Did you get a tighter helmet this year? I feel like it was popping off all the time last year, not so much this year.
Yeah, so our clubby, Freddie Tyler, came up with this contraption, and we took a earpiece out of one of the Bat Boys helmets. So they go around the field with one earpiece in a helmet, and the other one's in my helmet to keep it on my head. So that's how it stays on now.
So last year, I mean, your first hit in the big leagues, it pops off. Obviously, the home run, really cool moment. Helmet comes off, the hair flapping in the wind as you round the bases. Did that play out like even more perfectly than you could have ever imagined? Did you imagine a world in which you come up to the big leagues and your first hit is a homer?
No, I mean, when you get up there, you're just honestly hoping to get at least one, and for the first one to be a homer. I mean, that was the most surreal moment, especially with my family there, to be able to share that with them. And yeah, I don't think anybody dreams it, or I mean, you dream of it, but you don't ever expect it to happen whenever you go up.
And so with the timing of you coming up last year, I know last year once Adley came up, the season really turned around for the Orioles, and then you come up really right in the middle of a playoff push. I mean, the thought of the playoffs last year for the Orioles, I don't think was on most people's radar. And then, you know, you were in position until the last weekend of the year, and fast forward to this year, and best team in the American League, and in position to be the 1 seed. I mean, how much fun has baseball been at Camden Yards this year? It just looks like an absolute blast.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, especially with the crowds getting bigger. It seems like every series we come back, and then being able to have the celebrations, which brings the crowd into it with the splash zone out and left. It's really fun and a really good time at the ballpark right now.
I've been saying this for, I feel like, months. I need to be a part of the splash zone and the bird bath out in left field. Is it a must? It looks like it's a must.
Oh, yeah. It seems like we have a special guest. I've seen Adam Jones out there a few times.
He's been in it.
Yeah, he's been out there. He's been leading the crowd out there. So it looks like a really good time out there.
I feel like the Orioles organization as a whole, when you look at just how you guys are set up with all of the rookie studs up there now, and there's still plenty more names to come. I also think Jackson Holliday might be one of the best when he gets up. He looks unbelievable. Is it fair to say that the Baltimore Orioles are on the cusp of a potential dynasty for the next decade?
I mean, I would like to think so. I've got to see everybody, excluding the new draft guys, play, and just see how great of people they are, and then also how great of ball players they are. And it just seems like it's a great mix for a long championship run for many years to come.
What about this year? Can the Orioles win the World Series this year?
I wholeheartedly believe we can.
Man, it really has been a blast to watch you guys out there. Like you said, the crowds are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Some of my, fondest memories growing up My brother's 9 years older than me, so some of my fondest memories with him with the Tigers, well, maybe they weren't the most fond memories because they lost that series, but going to Camden Yards and just seeing the crowd there and how passionate they are, and to see that come back this year for you guys, I feel like has been awesome. And I can't imagine how much it helps you guys. You know, it feels like that team is feeding off the energy of the Orioles crowd.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of videos from that. I think it was the 2014 playoffs.
Yeah.
And just seeing all the orange towels in the stands.
The
just waving
Delman
around.
Young bases loaded double. Yeah. It's tough.
I'm hoping they bring out the orange towels for this year, because that'd be a surreal sight.
Yeah. So this season, it felt like for you, last year you come up, have a lot of success. This year, the beginning of the season started off a bit of a struggle, and now you're again having a great year. What was it for you, you think, at the beginning of the year that helped you turn it all around? I talk often about how baseball is the most mental sport in the entire world, where you're failing 70% of the time and you're one of the best to ever do it. So it's obviously a game of failure. How were you able to push through that mentally and turn it into the season you're now having?
Yeah, so I'm going to go back, I think it was 2 years ago, to when I was in Aberdeen. I started out, as soon as I got called up, first 2 weeks of going to high, I went 0 for 31. Mm-hmm. And the experience I went through there, I felt like I was trying to change something every day, just trying to feel good at like BP or in the cage, and just trying to search for something that would, I guess, give me the slightest confidence of, oh, here it is. Now try this in the game. And then felt like I was just going down a rabbit hole and getting further and further away from the ultimate goal of getting through the slump. And go into this year, when I got up, I was going through the struggle, but I felt like the struggles I went through in high helped limit that, because whenever you go through that certain thing, you want to change. You feel like you have to change something to have success. And whenever I was going through it, I had a bunch of guys around me, pretty much hitting coaches and the whole team. They had my back and was just giving me great insights on what they went through and how they combated it. And I felt like it was just a great team effort. And then whenever I finally broke through and was able to start having a little bit of success, it felt like I haven't turned back.
Was it hard for you? So obviously the experience in high A helped you a lot. Was it hard going through it in the big leagues and realizing that you needed to stick with that because you already experienced it? And like your mind probably wants to say, well, this is the big leagues now. I need to change and I need to adapt. I can't imagine it was easy to stick to that plan while at the big league level.
No, it was one of the hardest things I've been through. It's definitely the hardest thing to think process minded, especially going through it, because you're sitting there looking up at the scoreboard every night and batting about $140, and just all those things kind of tie in mentally. But if anybody who goes through it, if there's one thing you can take from it, I would just say stick to your process, no matter what the scoreboard says. I mean, you got to stick to something, and whatever makes you who you are, I feel like that's what you have to do. And just trust that if you stick to the process and just put in the right work day in and day out, that eventually you're going to take over and the results will start to come.
There was also a mid-season haircut that turned it all around, right?
Yeah. So we were in Milwaukee, and I was just going to get a trim. I was just trying to get the sides kind of tightened up a little bit, because I don't really like when it sticks too far outside of my hat. Yeah. And as soon as we got in there, it seemed like the scissors went straight across the back, and I was like, well, here we go.
You could feel, you knew it happened while it was happening.
Yeah, he went straight across, and I was like, oh no, we're already in there now. So yeah, I got it cut, and lo and behold, started hitting really well after that. So maybe down the road that'll be my hairstyle, but we're letting it grow back out right now.
So you haven't cut it since. I was going to say, are you going back to ask for that exact cut next time?
I guess I have a picture of it, so I don't think we'll go back to Milwaukee, but yeah, if I need it, I guess I have a picture of it. It's in the
Let's talk about you personally. You're a guy from Alabama and growing up there. Are you so you grow up a Auburn or an Alabama guy?
Auburn fan.
Okay. Grow up an Auburn fan. So I guess, all right. So I feel like one of the coolest moments in sports history, one of those moments you remember where it was the kick six. It happened in 2013. Obviously, you're a young kid at that point, but where were you for the kick six?
So I was in my living room with my family and some of my cousins. We were all in there watching that, and I just remember it. We're just sitting there. My hands are sitting there sweating, hoping this kick doesn't go in. And we see it, and he ended up scoring. And I still remember that Rob Bramlett call. It just gives me chills every time I hear it on like a flashback on Instagram or something. So it was a really special moment for us.
And then you grow up and end up committing to Auburn, where I think you probably knew my hitting coach from Old Dominion, Carl Nonemaker, right?
Yes, sir.
So you end up there for years, or you don't end up there. You end up going in the draft. Sorry about it. You end up going in the draft instead of going to play there at Auburn. What was that process like for you? Was it hard? Obviously, growing up an Auburn guy, and obviously, I would assume wanting to play there your whole life, but you end up getting drafted. Was it a tough thing for you to not go play there and to end up going in the draft?
Yeah. So my older brother actually walked on there, so he was going to be there for my freshman year, and that would have been his senior year.
Oh, that would have been cool.
My first cousin who I've played baseball with, literally since we could play, was going there as well, and then one of my best friends from travel ball team was going there as well. So I had a good group there. So definitely it was a tough decision making process. But my older brother Jackson, he was big in the decision because he said, "This is what you wanted to do your whole career or your whole life." And I mean, if it's what you want to do, then why not go for it? So yeah, it was definitely a tough decision, but I'm glad I felt like I made the right one, and I wouldn't want to be in any other position I am right now. So
what was draft day like for you? How was that whole day, and how did it turn out?
So whenever they say go in and expect the worst, that's what I should have listened to, because going through it, it wasn't the worst, but just going through it, I was thinking maybe around like middle of the pack of the first round, 15, 16. And then if I fell back, maybe late 20s. And it just kept falling. And eventually it was like, I'm going to go to Auburn because I didn't think any team was going to meet the number. And then lo and behold, the Orioles came and they exceeded the number that I had. And I actually didn't even get to see my name called, because from the first round to the second round, they changed the TV channel. And I was the first pick of the second round. So
you
I just got to see my name go across the bottom of the board.
That's great. You end up signing, obviously, kind of shooting up through the minor league system, where you really became like, in the Orioles minor leagues, they kind of started turning you into not a utility guy, but multiple position, mostly third base, mostly shortstop, back and forth. And I want to ask you, if I were to say to you, the Baltimore Orioles in 5 years are World Series champions, and Gunnar Henderson is the starting blank on that team, what position do you want to ultimately be?
So I was drafted as a shortstop, and that's what I've played my whole life. So that's what I would love to play. And just continue to stay there and just show my athleticism there.
Have you been able to, a couple weeks ago or recently on the show, I had Cal Ripken Jr. on, and he spoke about how he takes pride in the fact that he was kind of that first shortstop that really changed the position, right? He's a bigger guy, 6'3", 6'4", so are you, and obviously he's an Orioles legend, same organization. Have you been able to lean on him or have conversations and learn anything from Cal Ripken?
So we haven't had much time, but when we had our 40th anniversary of the World Series, I got to talk to him and chat with him a little bit, and he's just saying he was glad to see me at shortstop because, like you said, he was a taller shortstop, and so am I. So he said he loved my actions over there and just continue to get better at it and really enjoyed watching me out there.
That's pretty cool, though. I mean, he's one of the greatest to ever do it, and to have him say something like that, I mean, it's got to be something that you'll have with you forever, I feel like, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because he's an Orioles legend and one of the best to do it. So it's really cool to be able to chat with him and spend time with him.
Are there a lot of guys? I'm always interested because In the Tigers organization, we always had like legends around, like Al Kaline was always around, Kirk Gibson, Alan Trammell, Willie Horton. What about coming up through the Orioles organization, like spring training, roaming around or being rovers in the minor leagues? Are there ever legends coming around the organization?
So spring training, this was actually my first big league spring training. I made the big league team. Then I got to go to big league spring training because, yeah, so I never got to go to a big league camp going through the minor leagues. So I didn't really get to be around to see if there were. But this year, Eddie Murray came around for a little bit. Think that was about it that I remember. But yeah, during the season, there's a few guys that come in and out, and even outside of like Orioles players, we'll have some Ravens guys come in and just hang out in the locker room. So it's pretty cool being able to have that.
And last year, it was actually right around this time you ended up making your big league debut. But at the beginning of that season, you started in Double-A, and you sent your girlfriend a text at the beginning of that year talking about your vision for that season. What did that text say? Because it seems like a pretty cool story.
Yeah, no, I just told her at the beginning of the season, I said, I'm going to make it to the big leagues this year. And that was a goal. And that's what I've had in my mind since the season before ended. And I went into the off season, just trained with that mindset and just really went into it expecting to be in the big leagues by the end of the year. And lo and behold, I was able to accomplish that and just really put my head down and went to work that year.
Are you a big, vision guy, like setting your mind to something and knowing it's going to happen and that helping you mentally?
Yeah. So I like to myself, I know how internally driven I am. Yeah. And I like to set goals that I feel like I can accomplish, and it may seem kind of out there for others, but I know myself, and I feel like that's something I can accomplish, and I take that into every year and try to set a goal that I can exceed.
What makes you so driven, you think? I mean, you're 22 years old, didn't go to college, came out of high school where you probably had success your whole life there on a baseball field. What in you makes you as internally driven as you are?
I feel like it was from my parents, and then also just growing up, my love for baseball. Since I pretty much could start playing whenever we moved to our new house in Selma, my dad built the baseball field behind our house. And
that's cool.
I was able to go out there and practice every day. And then even before preschool, my dad and I would get up at like 6 a.m, go out and long toss, it seemed like every morning. So I felt like just the internal drive I had from a very young age, and then kind of vocalizing that I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player from at the time I could start playing, and always remembering that. Now, I think the story's been out before, but I remember somebody asking what I wanted to be when I grew older. And I told them I wanted to play baseball for a living. And they just said that, how hard it is and not many people can do it. Just kind of sat with me. And I felt like I've just really put in the work each and every day and to accomplish this goal. And I feel like I'm just getting started.
I kind of have a similar story, though it didn't end up working out long term, but I did end up playing professionally. But I remember in elementary school, we were asked, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to be a professional baseball player. And my teacher came back and told me to pick something more realistic. And every step of the way, I remembered that, like going to college. And then the day I got drafted, it's like something that I looked back on, and, I'll never go back to that teacher and be like, see, I told you so. But it really is something that just like sticks in my mind of people like doubting you along the way. And that's got to be something you'll remember forever.
Yeah, it just adds fuel to the fire. So
your dad built it. Was it like a full-size baseball field?
So, yeah, I mean, it was I can't remember the dimensions of the fence, but it was just everything that we needed, just a full dirt infield, outfield. It was probably like 260 down the lines, nothing crazy, probably like 300 to center, but everything we needed for, everything. It was pretty much, so in Selma, we didn't have much baseball field wise. So that was pretty much where we spent all our practices for Little League. And then we had a travel ball team that my dad coached, and that was up until I was about 11 or 12. So I spent pretty much every day after school out there on that baseball field.
Wow. So you did end up, obviously, you sent that text and you did end up getting up to the big leagues that year, again, right around this time. I got to ask, what was, I love asking people this story because I say it every time I have guys on, but it's that call that every kid dreams of, right? And for me to get so close to it and never get it, I love hearing the stories from people of what that moment was like. So for you, what was your call up to the big leagues moment like?
So mine was a little different. So after the game, we kind of sat around for a little bit, and it was the first game that Joey Ortiz and Colton Cowser got up to AAA. Mm-hmm. So after the game, we left and went to a little burger spot in downtown Norfolk. And
that's where I went to college, by the way. I went to ODU.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. So, so you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. I can't remember the name of the burger place, but we were sitting there, literally just placed our orders, and then I get a call from the trainer saying, "Hey, we need you to come back to the field." So I drove my truck over there. So I was like, just take a scooter and go get whatever he needs. So I take that over there and walk by the manager's office, Buck Britton, and he calls me in there, and then I see the phone set up, or the iPad, and I'm like, I kind of know what's going on here. So yeah, it all happens, and then I get to call my family, and then they're just ecstatic. And then I get a text from Joey and Colton's like, "Hey, your burger's ready." I'm like, well, I just got caught up. So could y'all get that to go? So yeah, I was at the field, and they ended up taking a scooter over to the field and then getting my keys and going back and getting my truck. So yeah, that was a pretty interesting and memorable call up night.
So you did see that, you like saw the phone and iPad set up, so it's obviously like, well, something good is happening.
Yeah. So yeah, I had an idea, but I just went along with it.
Did you so you end up going straight up to the big leagues, and we talked about your first hit being the homer, but did you ever have like a funny welcome to the big leagues sort of moment that happened to you?
Well, I wouldn't say it was really funny, but I would say my first at bat, I hit a foul ball, and then Stephen Kwan climbed up halfway up the wall and caught it, and then turned to double play. I was like, well, I guess everybody, all the defensive outfielders, are really good here. So yeah, that was pretty funny.
I'm not down in Norfolk anymore.
No, yeah, they make a lot of the routine, or pretty much all the routine plays, and then they'll make those extraordinary plays like that one.
All right, I got some fun questions for you before we wrap up. And the first of which is, who on the Orioles has the best hair? Because there's a lot of good hair on the team.
Best hair. So we'll go with Dean Kramer. I feel like he's got a full head of lettuce, and he manicures it pretty well.
What about before your haircut? Would you have taken you?
Maybe with a hat on. Whenever I take it off and I have to try and style it, it's not the greatest. I had to put some hair product in there to get it to stay back. So.
All right, a lot of rookies on this team, a lot of fun rookies, a lot of guys that'll be around for a long time, but it is a very young core of the team. So a few questions about this rookie class. The first of which is, who is the funniest rookie?
So we'll go with Colton Cowser on that one. He's like he'd be the class clown if we were in a grade together.
Who's the smartest?
Smartest. I would have to probably say, I'd say Westberg, probably.
Okay. What about the fastest?
I'd like to throw my name up there. I'm pretty sneaky. I feel like I can sneak up.
Sneaky fast. Yeah. Best looking of the bunch.
I don't want to toot my own horn, but
love that. Well, that's a great answer. All right. So far in your career, we're coming up on the 1 year mark. Who is the toughest pitcher that you have had to face so far?
So we'll start with a starter. I felt like, so last year facing Justin, your brother, I felt like I saw him well, and then I had the least bit of I was trying to hit a ball just the least bit harder, and then it felt like his stuff just played up that much more. And
interesting.
It just seemed like if you tried just a little bit more off of him, it plays up and it's insanely hard to hit. And I felt like that's what you get with these just legendary pitchers is anytime that you try to do just a little bit more and not take what they're giving you, that's when you get out a lot. So
is there, you said we'll start with starters. Is there a reliever that comes to mind?
The reliever that I felt like was really good was Emmanuel Clase, just a 102-mile-an-hour
cutters in on your hands.
Yeah, especially for a lefty, because you have to get it to start almost on the white line of the other batter's box to have a chance for it not to break your bat. So
what is it for you? You said against Justin, like the second you try and do a little bit more, you're screwed. What is a situation for you? Is that something that you intentionally will try to do, or you just get amped up based on the situation? Like, when can you feel yourself trying to do a little bit more in the box?
Yeah, so my first at bat, it kind of set me up for the following bat to try a little bit more. Like, I hit a ball the left field that was pretty good. It was right to the left fielder, but I felt like I got on it pretty well. And then just being a rookie, he's been pitching for almost the same amount of time
since you've been born. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a pretty surreal moment. And then I was like, oh, it'd be so cool to hit a homer because, why not? He's one of the best pitchers in the game. And and then as soon as I tried to do that, it was like the slider and cutter playing so much higher, and they're moving a lot more. And you try not to, or you get them away from what you're good at and trying to do a little bit more. And then I ended up, I think, punching out the next at bat.
Interesting though. So you'll have your approach. You'll start a game with your typical approach, and based on how you're seeing a guy, if you see a guy really well your first at bat, you can try and amp it up just a little bit your next at bat if you're seeing him well.
Yeah, I think that was the first bit. I guess I'm still a rookie now, but I'll say like the very beginning of the rookie stage that's what I got, and I've learned from it. So when I'm in that situation now, I don't really try and amp up anymore, because you might get one homer out of all that.
Yeah.
Of many times that you do it. And so I just try to stay even-minded when if I have a good at first at bat, and then even if I don't have a good at first bat, just stay even-minded and just try to take what they're giving you.
So far in your career, the favorite stadium that you've gotten to visit?
So I'll have two. Actually, Seattle was pretty cool, so we'll make that the third. But tie for first would be Fenway and probably Oracle Park.
Complete opposite stadiums. So Fenway, that made Fenway for the nostalgia of it all, and Oracle just because it's awesome. I had to throw an AL East
in there because we'll play there the most. But the San Fran trip was pretty cool just from watching all the playoff games. And then Jake Peavy he had a ranch like 30 minutes from my house, so I got to spend a good amount of time with him, and he helped coach our high school team. So that was pretty cool to be able to go there and then just experience the playoff moments that I've watched.
Do you have a least favorite that you've been to so far?
Well, they're all better than the minor league stadiums, so I don't really have a least favorite so far.
Have you been to Oakland yet?
We go there right after we get done in San Diego.
Everybody's answer is either Oakland or somewhere that they've really struggled in their career, like 0 for 20. Yeah. It's either Oakland Coliseum sucks, or I hate this place and I never want to play there again because I can't hit there.
Yeah, I'm sure it's inevitable at some point, but I hope not to have big O for at one specific stadium. We'll go to Oakland after this series, so I'll be able to experience that.
All right, Gunnar, fill in the blank here. The 2023 AL Rookie of the Year will be
Gunnar Henderson.
Love that. I love that. Man, thank you so much for joining me. This has been a lot of fun. By the way, you're a big video game guy, right?
Yes, sir.
What mostly? Do you play any of the show?
I played a little bit, when it first came out, and then being in baseball season, don't really want to keep playing baseball when I'm outside of it. But right now I've been playing a lot of Apex and then Rocket League with Colton Cowser. So we've been playing that. And Adley will get joined up with us as well in some Rocket League. So
you got a big Rocket League team going on.
Yeah, so we'll play, and then he has some of his buddies that will have some private matches and play against each other. So it's pretty fun. We carried it on from last spring training.
It's it's not an easy game. It looks like if you're just watching, but then you can watch those guys that like stream it and they're like the best in the world, and you realize how difficult it is to actually play. I'm not great at it. I love COD. I suck at COD though. I just, video games are fun. They're exactly what you do. They're to like keep your relationship with your closest friends and have, it's great. So it's cool to hear that you guys have that going on with the team.
Yeah. It's just a way to stay connected with everybody. So
yeah. Gunnar, thank you so much for joining me, man. Good luck the rest of the year. Good luck to the Orioles this season and in the playoffs. I'll be rooting for you, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thanks, man. See ya. All right. Thanks again to Gunnar Henderson for joining me. That Orioles team is going to be very, very good for a long, long time. He'll be a big part of that. Adley Rutschman there as well. Grayson Rodriguez, one of their young pitchers that throws 100 and is nasty on the mound. That team is fun. And I'll say it again. I need to get out to the bird bath out in left field. Anybody does. If you're a fan of baseball, go sit in the bird bath out in left field at Camden Yards. It looks like a really, really fun time, but a good conversation with him. What a stud, 22 years old and becoming quickly one of the best players in the game. And he's a big part of that Orioles success. So how far can they go this year? They are the best team in the American League currently. He believes they can win the World Series, and they're certainly going to do some damage in the playoffs this year. So thank you all for listening to this episode with Gunnar Henderson. Make sure you're all subscribed. Wherever you listen to your podcast, hit that subscribe or follow button, Apple, Spotify, wherever. We're also on all social media, including YouTube, where you can watch every single thing we do on this brand new, beautiful new set. So at Flippin Bats Pod anywhere on socials. That does it for this episode. Until tomorrow, my friends, peace.